to episode 325 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 10th of March 2025. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
How's it going?
Graham.
Good evening.
And Will.
Hello.
Let's get straight on with our discoveries then. Will, Espargos?
I don't know. And also, I would caveat this with saying this isn't currently strictly open source, although there is a Python library which is open source. But this is some pretty amazing witchcraft that I think everybody should see.
Yeah.
Some guy from a university has got an array of ESP32s connected together, and he's synchronized the clocks on them through some witchcraft, and he's able to do a time difference between a Wi-Fi signal hitting the left-hand ESP32 on this array and the right-hand one, and so determine where, in three-dimensional space, the source of the Wi-Fi signal is coming from, and then overlay that with a camera so that you can sort of get an impression of where in a room, for example, the Wi-Fi signal is coming from. And it is eerily impressive. You can see things like reflections off of walls, and you can see reflections off of metallic objects different than you would see a reflection off of like a plasterboard wall, for example. You can see through walls because, of course, the Wi-Fi signal is not inhibited too much by a wall. And the accuracy of this thing is, based on the video that I've watched, I would say down to probably tens of centimeters of accuracy within a three-dimensional space. It's quite extraordinary what this device can do. And if you chain together more of these arrays, then you can get more and more accuracy and just more and more range. It's quite extraordinary. And so the project is some pretty heavy science shit, and I don't really understand it. But the YouTube video, the demo of this thing, is really impressive. And to see what you can do with commodity off-the-shelf hardware for a few tens of dollars and some big brains is really quite impressive. So I urge everybody to go and watch the video. And if you're really interested, then read the webpage with a lot more technical information. I hope that this becomes an open source project and all of the circuit diagrams are published so that you can build it yourself. I don't quite know what you would do with it, but that's not the point. It's cool.
I was amazed that you could get that much fidelity of the positions of things with such nearly close together receivers. That was amazing because, I mean, the board looks like it's only about like the width and height of a PC monitor where they've stuck like the 8 sensors or whatever. And it's amazing the amount of definition you get with that. And I was amazed that something that seemingly is so weak as a processor would have that much ability to calculate all those differences in time difference across such a short spaces of the antenna and then still get that amount of detail. It's insane.
And this is client devices. See, when you first described this, I thought you were talking about just finding routers and stuff, but this is tracking people in real time where their phone is, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing sinister about this at all, is there?
Especially if you need a MAC address of a particular person's phone.
Do
you know if these are just like standard run-the-mill ESP32 chips then?
They are. The change that they've made is to the way that they're clocked. So the way that the system works, in my understanding, which is extremely basic, is that you run a very high-frequency clock and a few clock pulses difference between the left-hand side of the board and the right-hand side of the board is all you need to be able to position this thing. And so the trick is to get all of these ESP32s synchronized with exactly the same clock. And they go into some detail about how they achieve that. But that is really the only difference. They are the off-the-shelf standard hardware with an external clock that is synchronized to all of them. And that's it.
That is amazing. Because, I mean, the smaller that you make your array, the tighter you have to have those margins to get a difference between them all. And that still blows my mind somewhat.
Phelim, OSM2 Google Maps bookmarklet.
Yeah, so I've often wished that I could jump to a map, i.e. from OSM, where I prefer the actual maps themselves, but wanting to see a satellite view, and it's handy to jump into Google Maps. Well, this is a block of JavaScript, which if you just say create a new bookmark in Firefox, and I believe it'll work in Chrome, and then in the URL bar, you dump in this JavaScript, it becomes a bookmarklet. And then if you are in OSM and you click the bookmark, it then goes, you want to go to the other one in the exact same position and zoom factor, and it jumps you to the other one.
Why don't you just use Google Maps like any other human being?
Because Google Maps often doesn't have the same information. It's actually not as clear. I think they're actually shittier maps, to be quite honest. Oftentimes, OSM will actually provide better overlays for stuff. And a lot of projects use them, like the likes of the ADSB stuff, whatever, because they don't have to pay a fee. And so, yeah, it's quite handy to be able to do this. So I've often wanted it. And yeah, it turns out it was actually super easy, assuming the person who did all the JavaScript says it was easy, but I copy and pasted it.
I quite like this. I find OpenStreetMap for street mapping, like actual street level mapping, way faster than Google Maps in Firefox.
Yeah.
And also there's some other niceties, because things like footpaths and bridleways and that are in OSM from the Ordnance Survey are way easier to find, and interesting things are marked on the map. For example, runways, grass runways, are marked on OpenStreetMap with runway numbers, which is quite fun. Don't get any of that information on Google Maps. But yeah, I also like nosing around in people's gardens and seeing who's got a swimming pool. So this is perfect.
I see you have spotted my actual use case. Fair enough.
Something that I've been watching for a while, which is now open source, is CYD. CYD, I think that's how you say it. And this is a tool that you give your Twitter credentials to, and it will go and delete all your shit, basically. And the free tier will back all your stuff up and delete all your tweets, and that's it. Whereas if you pay, you can get it to like delete your likes and unfollow everyone and stuff like that. I mean, there is an easier way to do this, which is to create another Twitter account, delete your existing account, and then quickly change the name of the new one to your old name. And so you're effectively squatting it, which is what I did with my account. But if you can't be asked with that, then this is a pretty good way to do it. And now, because it's open source, you can presumably build it with the premium features if you want, but it's not that much. It's like $36 a year. I'd say just support them. Because it's one thing to just have left Twitter, but if you're leaving all your data behind for them to feed into AI and everything, fuck them. Delete it. That's what I say.
I've been in two minds about what to do with my old Twitter account. I haven't logged on there for, I don't know, months and months now. And I did think about deleting my account, but I decided I couldn't even be bothered to remember what my password was and get logged in, and I was just going to ignore it. But you raise a good point. I think this might be the time.
Well, Popey wrote a Python script recently, which is related, which is called Twitter defollower. And what this does is removes all of the people who are following you, not the people you are following. Although I suppose it could be adapted potentially for that. I don't know. But with these two tools together, you could delete most of your presence on Twitter if you wanted to. Phelim, cross views.
It's not exactly an open source thing, but as long as you have a camera, even a potato like mine, you can do this. It is a way of taking two pictures slightly apart from each other. The left picture is designed for your right eye and the right picture is for your left eye. And through a couple of different ways of doing it, you can use your sort of making the everything's okay symbol around one of the pictures and then look at them both, or you can do your crossing eyes way to do it, and you can turn that into a 3D image. And it is amazing how well it works.
I used to be really into this. I still have, I think, the eye muscles after getting into random dot stereograms. Do you remember them?
Is that the magic eye picture ones?
Yeah, where you had to cross over your eyes and a 3D image would appear. So I can kind of still do this on demand. And I used to take photos using this method. And it's like, it's as old as photography, isn't it? It's a great idea.
I had never thought that it would be this easy, to be quite honest. But yeah, it's pretty amazing, especially the ones where it's like a forest or trees or something like that, where the depth of field actually makes a big difference.
I also strongly suspect that in the future, full 3D model dot clouds will be able to be generated from just those two images as well. So yeah, you're future-proofing those scenes.
I think the beauty about it is you don't need a fancy camera to take the picture, and you don't need a fancy screen display or goggles in order to do it. You just need a bit of muscle bending and you're grand. Yes, I know it's obviously quite not the same as your very fancy VR headset, but it's close enough.
Well, I cannot get this to work. I've tried the blurring the eyes method. I've tried the peeping through your hands method, and I just can't get it to work. And I couldn't get it to work on Magic Eye pictures either. So there's obviously something wrong with my brain. I think I'll stick with my VR headset for now.
Oh, cheapo system's not good enough for you. Well, you enjoy your 3D system when the nuclear winter comes and nobody has any power. I'll be looking at my 2 crappily developed photographs and trying to get it to work.
Do you remember trees? Oh.
Even if you do have a VR headset, they're still useful because you can then, you can put up one image on your left eye and the other image on your right eye, and just you don't have to cross over your eyes then. There is software to do it.
I've heard that there might be other types of JPEGs that you can do that with.
In fact, the artifacting you get with JPEG compression can damage the 3D effect.
Oh.
So you want mucky PNGs then, is what you're saying?
Oh, we need to buy that now.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is the easiest way to connect devices and services to each other, wherever they are. Everyone these days has a VPN as a sponsor, but Tailscale isn't like those. This isn't about hiding your browsing habits from coffee shop owners, and it's not about watching Netflix in another country. Tailscale is a proper VPN for connecting your devices securely. It's great for companies, and it's great for self-hosters. Tailscale lets you connect anything, anywhere. Provide connectivity to any resource for your organization, from dashboards to a Synology NAS or Windows file server, from self-managed DNS servers to software as a service applications. If you want it off the public internet, Tailscale will provide secure access. Tailscale's personal plan will always be free, so support the show and try Tailscale out for free today. You'll get up to 100 devices and 3 users for free at tailscale.com/LNL with no credit card required. That's tailscale.com/LNL. Have you ever noticed when you do apt update, apt dist upgrade, that you'll get some updates not installed due to phasing?
Yes.
And do you get annoyed that you're not getting all the updates that you feel that you should?
Kind of, but I do remember there's been the odd bug which has absolutely destroyed people's, say, X server or whatever. So I do kind of sit there and go, well, I'll let someone else test it. But if you run Neon, you can get past it using the pkcon command.
Okay, because in Ubuntu and Linux Mint, I've tried this in, you just create a file in app.conf.d and copy-paste the thing that I'll link to into it, and then you don't get this annoying thing anymore, and you just get all the updates all the time.
I did not know that. That's very handy, because that for a server would be very useful if you schedule in bloody downtime, and then you don't, it starts doing that. I didn't realize there was a way to get past it. I thought it was all far server side.
I will quote from the website here. Please only do this if you really know what you're doing and are absolutely sure you need to do it.
Yes and yes, maybe.
Well, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing, and I just want all the updates, so YOLO. If it breaks my laptop, I'll just pick up another one off the stack. It'll be fine.
I would recommend that people don't do this. There are phased updates for a reason. Don't make yourself a guinea pig unless you have to.
Yes, but if you do have to do downtime, it is very annoying if like a half the servers to say, no, I'm fine. I've got everything I need. And you're like, no, you're doing it right now. This is my window.
Well, yeah.
Well, because what I had been doing is just copy-pasting the list and then just doing a sudo apt install paste and then taking the line breaks out, and then it would give you those updates. So there is a way to do it without this all the time if there's just one particular case that you want to do it with. But as soon as I found this, I just started doing it every time. Every time I see it on a different laptop of mine, I'm going to just make this file and just make it work.
But would in your solution there not be marking a whole lot of stuff that was auto-installed as now being installed and taking the auto away?
Probably.
And then you end up with a big horrible dependency of everything.
Yeah, I don't think that is a great idea. Yes, you're right. The best idea is to just let your distro maintainer take care of you.
Don't use auto updates. Oh, God. It's on fire. Yes, it is. And it happened while you were asleep.
This is not to be confused with the Ubuntu Pro stuff, of course, where it says like, if you join Ubuntu Pro, you can get these extra updates. This is phased updates, which is just releasing them slowly to batches of people like they do with Android updates and stuff like that. It's a more modern way of doing updates for people and not breaking. You don't want a CrowdStrike situation where millions of computers are just suddenly not working. Let's do some feedback then. Robert writes, I'm not affiliated, but there's a project called Rapid Photo Downloader that's pretty freaking good. It's in all the main repos and does what it says on the tin, better than anything else I've come across. I'd been using it for years without a second thought when it popped up asking me to take a survey. After taking it, I had a look at the repo on GitHub, and it seems like the developer, a guy named Damon Lynch, is in a bit of a tough spot. Hand injury, long COVID, currently unemployable, and very few sponsors on GitHub. I chipped in a few bucks, but maybe this guy could use some attention and appreciation. It's the sort of utility project that a lot of people might be taking for granted like I was. And then he links to the project website and the GitHub sponsor page with the story. So check it out. Rapid Photo Downloader. I've heard good things about this. It's one of those tools that really is Unix philosophy. It does one thing really, really well, and that is downloading photos from one place to another.
Yeah, I've used it. If you typically take 100 photos on your SD card, and Rapid Photo Downloader will categorize them, put them in the right place, import them, delete the originals, find the duplicates, all with a single click once you've set it up, or automatically when it detects the media. It's brilliant for bringing things into Darktable and organizing big photo collections.
Yeah, so it's a bit shit that he's struggling, and people should support the project. Max writes, apologies if it's old to you, but today I learned about this lines of code counter tool called SCC. The fun feature is that in addition to counting the number of lines of code in your project, it also estimates the development cost in dollars. I pointed it at one of my work projects and found out that I'm being underpaid by a factor of about 4.
Yeah, good luck. I think you should print that out or bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah, just, send it to HR or finance or whatever. And it stands for SLOC, clock, and code. You have to say that slowly, Jesus. But it sounds very useful and fun at the same time. I don't know how accurate you can be estimating monetary value of code, but it sounds like a good feature nonetheless. Ted writes, in episode 319, Phelim says you don't have to go into the settings for KDE, and he can't remember the last time he went into the settings. I use GNOME. I tried Plasma once and I didn't like the defaults, so I switched back to GNOME. My understanding is that Plasma can be configured and customized almost infinitely. How do you do that without going into settings? And what is the point of settings then? I'm not trying to be a troll, I'm genuinely curious.
I did email Ted and I said, okay, yes. I didn't mean don't ever go into them, but what really annoys me is that a lot of sites say, oh, KDE is really hard and there's lots of settings. It's like you feel like, every time I log into it, it loads the settings up and I must jump through 50 questions before it'll allow me to use the computer. It was more the fact that I have very little customization I do for mine. I throw my bar over on the top left. It's about half the distance of the screen, and then I'm almost done. I pick a dark theme and that's pretty much it. And if I ever need to change anything, I go into the settings and use the search bar in it because it works really well. Because, I don't know where to find the display hertz from my monitor. I can never remember. But if I go in there and I say display, it instantly pulls up a few things and I quickly go into it. And I think that's the way it should be. You can change what you need to change, but you're not, constantly doing it, is where I was really going. Some people have made YouTube videos about how hideously adapted they've made their desktop, but I mean, that's just me. Isn't that right, Graham?
Well, I'm very similar to you, actually, because this is awful to admit. Maybe I've said this before. I think some of my configuration files are probably 10 or 15 years old for KDE.
Same.
I've not gone in and changed them, and I've constantly brought my home directory with me wherever I go. So I've got a setting that I like, but I'm always surprised at how adaptable it is to what I need. I mean, this is an extreme example. Because I have a vertical panel on the left, I have got the time as 2 numbers on top of one another, and I wanted the date underneath that from the same widget. The widget supports it, but only in a different configuration. Now, you can go into the YAML and you can re-enable this feature by basically hacking it, and that's KDE does that fine. So you can go to any level with KDE and usually make something work, and then I'll save that configuration for another 10 years. So I think it's just good to know that it's there rather than knowing where everything is.
Yeah, it's that sort of way of, they assume that everybody likes it. You know, it's your computer. You should run it the way you want to, not be forced to sort of meet a paradigm. That's the biggest thing I have with GNOME. And I know that's what they try to do on purpose, but I don't know. I just don't think that's a good way to go, because I think everybody is different.
Well, I still maintain that XFCE is the perfect balance between configurability and not having a million fucking options that confuse you.
You don't have to look at them. That's my point. Just search for what you're looking for. You'll find it. Jesus Christ.
No, it's impossible to use KDE without going into the settings every 5 minutes.
It is not. Stop.
I've always thought that KDE should have the feature of having personality configuration so that we can have Phelim and Graham's configuration set in there.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Entroware. Go to entroware.com. Entroware sells computers with Ubuntu and Ubuntu Mate pre-installed. They've got a range of desktops, laptops and servers, and most parts are configurable, so you can pick the CPU, RAM and storage that's right for you. If you can't find exactly what you want, then do contact them and they'll work with you on a bespoke solution that's perfect for your needs. They ship to the UK, Republic of Ireland, France, Germany, Italy and Spain. And if you do buy one of their machines, there's a little drop down at checkout and you can select Late Night Linux so they'll know that we sent you. So go to entroware.com for all your Linux computing needs. On to a bit of admin then. First of all, thank you everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. If you want to join those people, you can go to latenightlinux.com/support. And remember that for various amounts on Patreon, you can get an advert-free RSS feed of either just this show or all the shows in the Late Night Linux family. And you even get some episodes early. And if you want to get in contact, you can email show@latenightlinux.com. Mike got in touch regarding the lack of interesting Linux news. And Mike writes, "Don't get me wrong, the show always goes right to the top of my listening queue. But I think you're more of a last of the summer wine of the Linux world."
Even I know that reference and I'm offended.
A cozy chat about a small number of fairly parochial issues, mostly Mozilla, Plasma, Canonical, Raspberry Pi, and NASA. I'm very happy with this, and the discoveries continue to be consistently brilliant. You know there's a but coming, and here it is.
Yeah, I can feel it.
But there's so much of the Linux world you rarely go anywhere near. Niche distros, immutable distros, Cosmic, major players like OpenSUSE.
That's where he lost me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's a lot of Europeans use it. Let's not anger them too much. Certainly, the Linux desktop is inevitably much more commoditized these days, but there remain huge areas of Linux you hardly ever mention. As I say, not complaining. Oh yeah, it doesn't sound like it, because I love the show, but I don't think your point has much merit, and personally, I'd be happy if you looked a bit further afield from time to time. Well, I mean, Mike's not wrong, is he? He's 100% right, ultimately.
Yep.
But let's go down that list, shall we? Niche distros, well, we just don't really have that much interest in them. Immutable distros, the second that comes up, Phelim just starts fucking moaning, so we can't really cover them.
I'm sure they'll happen eventually. I'm sure they will.
Cosmic, I just keep seeing like, Alpha 1 or whatever. Like, maybe when there's a proper release of it, we might look at it, but I don't know. It's just, again, that's pretty niche. OpenSUSE, how can I say this without pissing people off? It's just a bit slow and boring. And I don't know, but that said, I've been doing this for 10 years now, roughly, this Linux podcasting lark. And whenever you feature OpenSUSE prominently, you get a bump in downloads. So maybe we should all just use OpenSUSE all the time and talk about it all the time, because I don't think it gets much coverage, especially in the English-speaking media, Linux media.
It was one of the first distros I used because it was the one that came with a DVD and I didn't have the internet, so that was the way I got all the software.
And KDE.
Yeah, true. That's where it started.
But we're just all familiar with the stuff that we use, and we don't really, I don't know, maybe we're just not excited about all the new stuff anymore.
Maybe we need to do our challenges again. We did do challenges for a while. Maybe we should try it again.
I think what we really need is like the Late Night Linux, the next generation. where we get like 18-year-old versions of ourselves to create their own podcast and talk about all the exciting shit they've yet to experience before they've done it 10 or 15 or 25 times and got all the hate from the internet. Let's find those people.
I want to steal a left knee off my particular candidate because mine's really bad for the last 2 years.
Can I have my younger counterpart's lower back, please? But almost what you're describing there, Graham, is Linux After Dark. Like, I'm the oldest on that show rather than being the youngest here. And we do challenges and stuff and are generally a bit less curmudgeonly. So maybe that's our niche on this show, is we just like fucking moan about stuff.
Yeah, so rename that podcast Early Morning Linux.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Well, you know, 30 seconds to midnight podcast.
Yeah, change our name to the Doomsday Clock podcast.
Hey, it's a good Iron Maiden song. It's all good with me.
But yes, Mike, you're right, and we will try, but no promises.
Yeah, fuck off.
Right, well, we'd better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when it'll probably be news and stuff, but we'll have to see. Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelan.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.